Meeting. We will start by doing a roll call.
Garner. Here. Daffer. Miller. Here. Turner.
Here.
Kehoe.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Kirkman.
Here.
Selman. Here. Van Auker Jr. 7 present, 2 absent.
Rodney.
Thank you. Chairman and Commissioners, Planning and Zoning Director for the record. I need to just report on 4 public hearings that City Council heard last week, and then I've just got a couple of items that I need to cover with you. The first public hearing was a reconsideration of City Council's approval of the appeal for Falcon Townhome Subdivision Preliminary Plat. That's at the northwest corner of Lake Lowell and South Middleton Road. So in essence, just quick history. There's a lot of history on this one, Falcon Townhomes. The Planning and Zoning Commission had recommended approval of the plat because they felt like it followed the code and it substantially complied with the development agreement. City Council overturned that decision and denied the plat, and then a request for reconsideration was given, and the layout was modified slightly so that there was more distance on the northern edge, and City Council approved the plat with a few of those conditions. The road was a little bit smaller, and they moved the buildings away from the existing subdivision to the north. So that one was approved, and it was on reconsideration, so that one will never come before you again if it gets developed. So that has gone on for a lot of years. So. The next one was a comprehensive plan map amendment from medium density to residential mixed use, and a zoning map amendment from RD to BN, or business neighborhood business. And that was at the northwest corner of 6th Street North and 13th Avenue North. And this was for the it's like a care facility or a clinic providing counseling services for disabled, and that one was recommended by the commission, and City Council approved that change. The next one was an annexation and zoning on the east side of Northside Boulevard and north of Cherry Lane, and this was for a laydown yard for Construction Supply Company, and the commission had recommended approval. The City Council approved. And the last one was for Brookhaven subdivision. This was annexation and zoning, and then to RS7 and BC, and then a PUD that goes with that. So it was a mix of uses, 3 commercial lots and 50 common lots and 338 single-family detached dwelling unit lots. And the commission had recommended approval. City Council approved it, but they required a development agreement, and we're drafting that development agreement. Some of the concerns were just the land uses that are allowed in the BC zone. They were concerned about some of those land uses, and so they're going to try to limit some of those land uses. And that's all I have for council actions. Can I just move into the next section? Thanks. So just want to point your attention to your desk. We have the Citizens Guide to Planning. This was just printed. This magazine is intended to help people understand planning in Nampa. It's a confusing topic, and I know that you guys know a lot about it because you've been in this role for a long time, but just the average citizen and even some of the developers don't understand our processes and the code related to it and state requirements. And so this guide is to help them. And we've had it on our website for this past year with videos, and now we have it in a physical form. We're going to try to distribute this. We don't have a ton of them, so we're going to distribute it to realtors realtors associations, some active developers that we know, some other planners that we've worked with across the valley. And then if there are citizens that really want it, I'm happy to give them a copy of it. We want the information out there, and so we're trying to get it to those who will use it, and it's not cheap to print these magazines, so we don't want to just willy-nilly give it out to anybody who's just going to throw it away. So, but if they're really going to use it, we want them to have a copy. Again, we're going to have QR codes at our front desk and just have them give access to the website where it has the full document plus the videos, the short videos that they can watch. I'm really hopeful that this will be beneficial to the citizens of Nampa to understand the process and how they can get involved better. And I just want one more time to just identify Brianna Sun, who was instrumental in getting this developed, as well as Amy Bowman in the mayor's office, who helped us get the right colors and the layout. She did a fantastic job on this magazine.
That looks great.
And then the last thing, I just wanted to, I know you got an email about a joint workshop coming up on the 20th. We're still confirming with the mayor the exact time, so we'll be notifying you. So just watch for an email from our office about that joint workshop. But it's February 20th, likely at 7 a.m., but we're confirming that still. And again, that's to cover our annual report. In the past, we've had it just presented to you, but there's so much data in there that I didn't want to take a public hearing time away from public hearings. And so we're going to try to set aside at least an hour to just dig into the details of that annual report. And I think it's fascinating. I'm kind of a geek that way, but I just love looking at the numbers and seeing what our economy is doing and seeing what demand is there and how development impacts our community in a whole bunch of different ways. So again, I'm a geek, but hopefully I can convert you to be a geeks too. So that's all I have.
Thanks for being a geek, Rodney.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's no discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Chair Van Acker, we haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, but I just want to bring to your attention that.
No.
Oh, it is not. Okay, so
They got the names wrong. That's okay.
That is
Vice-
Mr. Miller, yeah. That's Brett.
Vice Chair Miller,
There you go.
presiding tonight. Thank you for the clarification. My apologies. I just wanted to make this body aware and those in the audience that there has been a hardware issue that's not allowing this public meeting to be recorded.
It is it's on live stream now.
Oh, it is on
He got
live
it
stream.
working. Yes.
Okay, so disregard that. There was a period of time that could have been in jeopardy, but we are up recording live stream. All right,
Well,
Thank you.
you bet.
Okay, we're going to get this meeting started. Before we get really rolling, there's a few things that we want to talk about. So order and sequence how things happen. First and most important, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It is very important to us as a commission that you do show up in favor of or against different things that come before us. It's important for us to hear your concerns, and we want to let everybody in here know that we do listen and we do take those thoughts and feelings into consideration. So thank you for being here. I would also encourage you to talk to your friends, families, neighbors, and encourage them to come. Encourage them to be part of the building and future development of Nampa. That's why we're here, because it means a lot to us, and we hope it means as much to you guys as it does to us. That way we can shape a better Nampa for all of us. So the way this is going to work is we will get the presenter to come forward. They will have 7 minutes to present and give us the details of what they would like to do. Then we'll turn the time over to the city, let them give their 2 cents on it, tell us what their thoughts, feelings are, give us some more of the logistics. Then we'll open the public hearing and let anybody testify for, against, or undecided on this item. and we'll give the presenter a little bit of time to come back up and rebut, and answer some questions if needed. Then we'll close the public hearing, and then we will discuss, and then we'll have a vote on that. So when you guys come up, we'd ask that you'd give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to present. Please be as watchful of the clock as you can, because I hate to cut people off. So with that, we'll start with the first public hearing item. It is a conditional use permit for a salon and spa in a DH zone at 120 13th Avenue South for Wendy Wood and Don Miller, representing Seven Devils Holding LLC as the representative here this evening. Go ahead and come on up.
Don Miller, address is 1019 West Altard Drive in Nampa. Do you guys all have the layout that was submitted? First of all, thank you for having us tonight. The conditional use permit is we're looking to take this building and put salon suites in there for practitioners in the valley, something that's more affordable for them, and just make it a nice professional, thank you, a nice professional place for practitioners. We believe it'll add a lot of value to downtown Nampa, drive a lot of traffic down there. So in addition to the suites towards the front, we'd like to have like a coffee bar so people can come in there, they can eat, do their thing. And, you know, while they wait for their appointments and whatnot, obviously they can, you know, see the other businesses down there. And again, it's going to drive more traffic down there and just make it a really nice place. So that's pretty straightforward as far as what that goes. Myself, I'm a business owner in Nampa. I own multiple businesses here. Wendy Wood, my partner on this project, is currently a hairstylist. She is operating out of one like this on 12th, and so there's a big need. It's always on capacity, and so there's a big need for areas like this for practitioners to come in and have a nice professional place.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Looking at your letter that you sent to us about what you guys are going to be doing, and it mentions that is an independent exhaust ventilation system is designed by each nail station so the fumes and dust are exhausted directly to the exterior of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of a filter between and collecting it and then getting outside, or is it just polluting the outside air?
There would be a filter in those locations. For example, in the place that Wendy's currently working at, they just have a filter, an air filtration system inside the suites, and it takes it and purifies the air. So it doesn't actually exhaust to the exterior.
Okay. Well, then we're just moving it from one place to another.
Well, yeah, it just takes it and cleans the air.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll call you back up in a little while. Damian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Tonight before you is a conditional use permit for a salon and
Can't
spa.
hear.
Yeah, can you move the microphone closer?
Is that a little bit better?
Yep, there we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Tonight before you, we have a conditional use permit for a salon and spa in the Downtown Historic District. So the applicant's request per Nampa City Code 10-3-2, a barber shop or beauty shop, nail salon, things of that nature in the Downtown Historic District need a conditional use permit. Here are the applicable regulations for a conditional use permit, that the proposed use is supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan, that the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the property will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity, that the proposed use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services, that the proposed use will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community, and that the proposed use will not involve any activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excess traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odor. So here are the property details. My apologies on some of this highlighted information that was not able to make it into the original staff report presenting tonight. So the property details are, right now the proposed property resides in the Downtown Historic District, and the comprehensive plan designation also designate this as downtown. To the north, south, east, and west, it is all downtown historic zoning. And currently, there is access to public services such as water and sewer. So a little bit of history on the change from a permitted use to a conditional use permit happened in 2021 for salons and barbershops and things of this nature. And it was due to trying to hinder the oversaturation of these kinds of businesses in the downtown historic area. So here's some data on the sales and revenue of establishments that are nearby within the downtown historic data. And per Nathan Davis, one of our consultants on the downtown revitalization, gave that right now the current revenue tracking is a little bit inaccurate due to reporting. However, the market is just slightly oversaturated. And here is a current map of the other salons in retrospect to salons, barbershops, or nails that are in vicinity of the proposed use in the downtown historic area. So for staff analysis, public interest, NAMPA has determined that this is in the public's best interest in bringing business to the downtown area as per the NAMPA comprehensive plan. And as far as compatibility, the subject property is surrounded by other downtown commercial businesses with the same just downtown historic zoning. Correspondence from engineering, we have that the owner and applicant shall comply with all Nampa City codes and standard. From the building department and the building official, the applicant and owner must comply with IMC, NEC, ISPC, IBC, IEBC, and IFC. And for more diagrams, see attached in the staff report. The proposed finding. For the first, staff concluded that this does comply with the comprehensive plan and others in the vicinity per the comprehensive plan. For the second criteria, staff concluded that the intended use will not adversely impact the character or appearance of the general vicinity. For the third criteria, staff determined that the proposed use will be adequately served by public facilities and services. For the fourth criteria, staff proposed that this would not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community because it will be bringing a variety of business space with multiple tenants that will attract more business to the downtown area. And for the fifth criteria, staff concluded that it will not be detrimental to any person's property by reason of excess traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glares, or odors. For the conditions of approval, first, the applicant owner must comply with all city codes, policies, and standards. That salon areas must comply with all the IBC, NEC, ISPC, and IFC. And the third, that the conditional use permit shall allow for the applicant to sublease the salons but cannot be transferred or sold with the business or tenant space.
Can I, excuse me. My brain was clicking into gear. Damien, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that number 3 right there, so if the individual decides to sell the salon, all of those who are subleasing a space there are gone too. Is that what I'm reading, or is that not the case?
the new owner that purchases the business must also come in for a CUP.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
And here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any other questions for Damien?
I have another one.
Okay.
I can't remember what slide it was on. I was going to write it down, but the oversaturation, it seems like staff brought up that seems a little oversaturated with that area with salons and that type of business down there. Is that a concern that staff is bringing up, that it's oversaturated, or what?
I'll respond to that.
I had
one.
no idea. I did not realize. I knew there was a couple down there, but I had no idea there was this many down there.
It is a concern of our city leadership.
Okay.
What's the concern?
The oversaturation of salons and beauty.
Well, wouldn't that be just that the business doesn't have any business, he closes and it's gone, and the other guy is doing a good job, he's got a lot of business, he stays?
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking, was market-driven, and
Yeah, I would think it'd be market-driven.
because they meet the criteria. Damon did a good job of explaining that as far as the criteria for conditional use permit, they meet those criteria. So I was just trying to square the oversaturation with the compliance to the requirements. The other question I had, Vice Chair, is the historic area. Are there additional restrictions or requirements for a business or a building or to be operated in a historical area, like architecture-wise or any of that kind of stuff?
Commissioner Kirkman, so downtown, we have just a few buildings that are considered to be contributing buildings, which would be on like our state register for historical places.
The old library, for example?
Yeah, there are just a few, not very many. We do have historical design standards, so if anything is done to the outside of the building, it will have to go through design review to be approved, and it will have to meet our historic guidelines for those buildings.
No matter what building it is, as long as it's in that area,
Yep.
that
And
history.
it doesn't matter what's going on inside of it, it's going to have the same standards.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
What is a wellness spa? What's the difference between a wellness spa and a spa? Anything?
You might want to direct that question back to the applicant when they come back up.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, now we'll take public testimony. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Vice Chair, we had some technical difficulties and no one was allowed or able to sign up.
Okay. So do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item? Okay. If you'd like to come up and answer a couple more questions.
My name is Wendy Wood, and my address is 12649 South Avrion Road, Nampa, Idaho. So a wellness spa is basically a full spectrum of what somebody comes to a spa for. So not only hair, massage, aesthetics, liquid IVs are kind of popular right now, potentially red light therapy, salt rooms, those kinds of things. So it's an all-encompassing nails as well. So somebody comes and they can get multiple services from different practitioners. The benefit of having the salon suites is that everybody kind of has their own space. So since COVID, this has been kind of the movement is going to. You can shut and for clients. And it's kind of the way that things are going. And this would be the third in Nampa. I know they're opening several in downtown Caldwell and a bunch in Meridian, Boise. So this is kind of an exciting way of things that.
Thank you.
Wellness spa, you'd want to leave the kids at home.
That's why we're not going to have a kid room. Yeah.
So when I read the application, it was my impression that this is kind of a starting, almost like a business incubator where they can come and start here before they get their own shop. Is that what happened?
On the business part of it. So
okay.
it's a lot on this project. days a week behind the chair. So this is the future for my children that I'm trying to provide that takes me away from that. So this is offering that to other people that they, the difference with this, we're going to have a receptionist. No other salon suites have that. So walk in and they can book and people can build their clientele. And that's my way of supporting the salon suites where they don't get that anywhere else.
Going to a doctor's office where you have 5 doctors.
Yep.
And then it just, all right, I get the idea now.
Thanks.
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking the coffee bar concept is that obviously still fits within that conditional use permit request with a coffee bar.
Commissioner Kirkman, that would be, so what you guys are looking at is the salon portion of it, and then if they are in there, it's kind of accessory to what's going on.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The way it was described just goes to kind of what we were just discussing, right? That this is a new thing, and what the culture is now. And I think that it's a good proposal.
Yeah, very cosmetologists and so if there's no other further discussion, I'd make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
Your wife is not part of the...
Let me answer that after I get done with the motion. She's not. So I move to approve the conditional use permit for a salon spa in a DH, which is a downtown historic zoning district at South. Seven Devils Holding LLC with recommended conditions and proposed findings.
Second.
Looking for a piece of paper. And seconded to approve the CUP. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Does this work?
No. Got to have writing on it.
Oh, it's got, oh, I see.
There's like 3 different.
Permit will
Become effective 15 days.
I'll give you a blank
do,
piece of
but-
paper. You can write your own.
You probably.
I do, but see, they changed it.
It's green now instead of yellow.
Instead of yellow, it's green. So the CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the reason statement is provided to the applicant. Appeal filed with the appropriate fee until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with the planning and zoning that there has been no appeal. Okay. We'll move to item number 2.
Did we vote on the motion?
Oh,
You did.
we did.
Okay, I just forgot, sorry.
We did.
Wake up, Drew.
Nodding off at that point.
That's why I read. Item number 2, a zoning map amendment from RD to BC zoning district and potential development agreement for 1215 13th and right of 0.389 acres for Aaron Randall, JGT Architecture, representing Brenda and Oswaldo Rodriguez. Is the applicant available? Come on up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Aaron Randall. I am with JGT Architecture in Napa. We're at 1135 12th Avenue Road here in Napa. I like what you guys did with the new finishes. That looks good. So I sat up there for 12 guys, so it's been a while, but
We got new chairs too.
really nice. Look at that. Anyway. Yeah, so we're here for a zone. Got a property now that's basically set up for a duplex, but it is really tiny. It's a skinny little piece of property that really can't be used for kind of residential. It's only 35 feet wide, and by the time you get into doing any kind of building on it with all the setbacks, it's basically about you can actually work with. And so currently it's just sitting there as an empty, vacant lot. It's not doing anybody any good. What happens that Oswaldo Rodriguez purchased the lot with the intent of putting a family type restaurant on there. Currently they own of Idaho, and they make food trucks. They've been doing that for 2 years. And after making enough little kitchens on wheels, they decided, you know what, let's make one for ourselves, and we'll do a little brick and mortar type thing, and we'll build it out, and we'll make something that the community can use. It's a walkable type restaurant. It's currently off of if anybody's familiar with the Hot Brewing Company. Yeah, you can see right there. If you see, it's a completely tiny little. Put the site plan back up on there. Yeah, there we go. So you can see right here where the floor plan. It's only like 50 square feet. Tiny little, a lot of spots in there for. It's really recommended as someplace where people will drive up and pick up their food, leave. They'll walk up, pick up their food, leave. Maybe a little bit of spots outside. We've got a pergola out front. Maybe put 1 or 2 small tables out front. But I mean, really, we're looking at maybe actually sit inside and have the restaurant there. So it's not going to be a ton of people coming in and out. It's not like a McDonald's or anything. It's not even like Hot Shots. It's going to be where you just come in and park and get your food, typically leave. We're going to have all new parking lots in front. Right now, like I said, it's just a bunch of weeds and tumbleweeds and grass. It's just kind of it's an empty vacant lot, and we're going to have it all improved. New sidewalks out front, new landscaping out front. So that landscaping is going to help anything from either side of it to be, to keep noise down. I know we talked a little bit about hours of operation. We're looking from like 10 a.m. until possibly 9 p.m. at night. So it's not going to be super late, like just down like a block away. You got the El Huero restaurant, which is open until 11-ish. I know because our office used to be right next to it, so they'd be out there till like midnight sometimes. So it's not going to be like that. This is going to be a lot quieter. And with the building being sort of centered in the property, it's going to be a long ways away from any of the residences to the north or the south. As it is, the properties to the north and to the west, directly to the west, those are actually already set up for retail. That's why we're going for this, because it's already contiguous, asking for the BC zone. And you can see right here, this is what we're looking for. It's a small footprint. It's got residential details. It's not very tall. I think it maxes out at 25 feet is the maximum at the top there. All the mechanical units will be set up inside in the top there in that little kind of cupola that runs along the ridge there. So you're not going to have a bunch of mechanical units outside making a bunch of noise. It'll all be kept inside. If you look at the northeast view, you'll see there aren't any windows along that elevation there. That's because that's where the kitchen is, and that's going to be the side. On the opposite side of that, that's where a lot of the residents, that's the closest residential units are. There's 2 of them on that other side. So there's not going to be a bunch of lights over there. There's not going to be a bunch of noise going over there. We've got and if you look on the other side, that they've also got, it's a roll-up door that's going to be open there for opening that up when the weather is good. It's right in front of the pergola. And all the materials we have, there's a corrugated steel wainscot down below with fiber cement, basically hardy board above that along the side, and then more corrugated metal or a standing seam metal roof on the top. And the rest of it is just aluminum, aluminum windows, and that's really about it. I'd be standing for any questions if anybody has any.
Will this have restrooms?
Yes, it'll have one restroom. Occupant load isn't very big, so we just need the one. It'll be a one accessible restroom.
Is this the only signage that you're considering on the building, or will there be one standalone sign? So you
If
can
there
see
is,
it
it'll
from
be like
12th
a
Avenue?
monument sign out.
But it's not going to be like a,
No, we're not going to have anything super tall. I think that's actually a requirement
Would be a
through design
restriction, too.
review. Yeah, we can't have anything too tall there. So, yeah, it won't be any taller than the actual building itself. And the signage is actually going to face 12th Avenue. That's really sort of the deal. It's going to be, we're really at the other end of a parking lot on the other opposite side of the alley. So anybody driving by, they're going to be able to see the signage.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Call you back up if we need you. Okay, so I guess we didn't have availability to sign up, so I'll just ask if there's anybody who. Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess I gotta let Christie speak first.
She's getting paid, she wants to.
Christie didn't sign up.
I'm here for,
I
Christie didn't sign up.
Sorry.
so.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Christy Watkins. I'm the Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. This request is for zoning map amendment from RD to BC at 1215 13th Street South for the construction of a restaurant. The surrounding zoning for this property to the north is BC. There are retail commercial service lots there. To the south is RD, which is single-family homes. To the east is RD, which is single-family homes. And to the west is BC, again, retail and commercial service lots. The proposed BC zoning is a permitted zone under the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map designation of commercial, which can be stretched one parcel deep to the subject property. The properties around the site include Odin's Eye Embroidery, Canyon Speech Pathology, John L. Scott Real Estate, Hot Shots Brewing, and Bullock and Company Realtors, as well as those single-family homes. Some public input that we received from Patricia Warren. She's concerned about noise, traffic congestion, late-night activity, trash, bright lights, decrease in property values, parking, and character of the quiet residential neighborhood. Engineering had their standard requirements that are now conditions of approval in the staff report. That one of them is that the owner shall coordinate with the neighboring property owners to reroute or provide easements over existing service lines which cross this lot. So apparently there are some service lines here. So the comprehensive plan defines compatibility, commercial opportunities, and access to major transportation corridors. This is located very close to 12th Avenue, which would be one of our major transportation corridors. This project will be regulated by Chapter 16, which is the BC zoning district. It will be required to go through design review. Because of the size of the building, it will be a staff level design review. A restaurant is a permitted use according to 1032 Schedule of Uses in Nampa City Code. So there are three criteria for determining the zoning for a project. One, it proposes a zone that is compatible with the comprehensive plan. Two, it proposes uses that are compatible with the surrounding uses. And three, the development of this property is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary because it allows for efficient use of an existing property, it has city services and utilities available to it, and it provides commercial services to the surrounding neighborhoods. Staff finds that it meets all three criteria. These are the recommended conditions of approval. These are your motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Christie? In the engineering report, item number 2, it says owner shall coordinate with the neighboring property owners to reroute or provide easements over existing service lines which can cross the lot. Is that the homeowners or is that other businesses that have to coordinate with?
Commissioner Kehoe, I think, Daniel, it would be the engineer that wrote those, so I will let him answer.
Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioner Kehoe, this lot runs parallel to the alley and runs along there, and then there are homes on the other side of the property from the alley. So their utility services run through this lot. So as a condition, we are recommending that they provide easements for those existing utilities that are, there are prescriptive easement rights likely there because they've been there so long. But what we're requesting is that they provide recorded easements or relocation if that's necessary when they determine where their building will sit and where those utility services are.
Nobody could stymie the whole project by saying, no, I'm not going to, okay. All right.
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now we can let the public speak. Okay. If there's anybody who would like to speak for or against, go ahead and come on up and just make sure to give us your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Patricia Warren. 77 years old, retired. I live on a pension. My house is directly across the street from this place. I do not want it there. They do not understand all the inconvenience that the neighboring businesses, that hot shop
Mr. Chair,
place.
I'm sorry, we need the address.
1216 13th Street South. The newfangled headlights, they shine right in my windows, in and out of that alley all day and all night. Directly across the alley, there's businesses that move there. So, see, I've been there like 20-some years, 27 years, 25, I don't know. My bedroom is from there to that table from the alley. And people stand out there talking on their phones and arguing and slamming doors all night long. Okay, I have an interest rate on my house at 2.5%. Where am I supposed to go now? I have no place to go. I have nobody to help me move. My daughter was going to take this house when I'm gone. And these people, just because they want to make money, want to ruin my life. There's a restaurant on the corner, the opposite corner of my house. It's not needed, and I don't want it. And if, you know, I've lived in this town all my life, and I thought I'd have a little peace and quiet for the rest of my life. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay. Mr. Randall, you have anything to say, follow up, in conclusion?
All right, so I guess, first of all, I want to talk about the utilities, Commissioner Kehoe. I know one of the things that we will be doing that's part of the conditions was upgrading the sewer line. It was like a 6-inch sewer line to 8-inch. So that's going to be a benefit for the local neighbors that are using that. And as far as the other easements, it seems like most of those are going to be over our parking area, so it won't be that big of a deal. It'll be something that we can work with. There are some power utilities that will go right over the top of where our building is. We have to get that rerouted. That's something that we've already started working with Idaho Power to come up with the line. They'll basically move it to the south and then back around that way. So now, as far as the traffic and the lights, I know there is a big concern about that. Can we have the site plan back up, please? Okay, so the way the parking lot works is that all the parking is to be coming in from the north to the south. They won't be shining in Miss Warren's in her light. All the parking faces towards the retail side. So again, all that is going to be facing towards 12th Avenue, away from everybody, all the neighbors. And then as the traffic comes out, again, it's going to come out to the south and then down Roosevelt that way. So the lights that are going to be shining into everybody's building is going to be set to a minimum. And again, we also have all the, currently if there's an issue with some of that, with traffic coming in and out of there, we've also got new landscaping that's going to go up. That's going to mitigate a lot of that noise that isn't there now. So we really think that what's going to happen here is going to be a benefit to everybody in the neighborhood. It's going to keep the neighborhood quieter. I know I've been by that. My house is less than a mile down the street. I can walk here in 10 minutes, and I've done it many, many times. There's been times where I've seen people have parked in that empty lot doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And this is going to keep a lot of that out of the area. So I think this is going to help make that quieter ultimately.
Mr. Chair, or Brett, if I can ask. My understanding of this was as they come out, they cycle back towards 13th. Is that 13th? What is that?
Along the alley?
Yeah, they'll go back up the alley and then back out to 12th. Is that not the?
No, they'll come out. Yeah, right. Yeah, if you follow the little arrow there, yeah, and then they can come down that way. I mean, you could go either way, I guess.
Is there access onto Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just can't enter. Well, I guess you could. You could go
you
from.
could, but you can't.
You have to
can't
go all the way
swing
up the
back
alley
around,
and then back around.
Yeah, and this isn't a drive. This is not going to be a drive-through. There's no drive-through facility there. It's the only reason we have that the other access that goes around there. It's just we had to have 10 feet anyway, so we said, well, this will be like an extra way to get out if there was somebody blocking that other exit. So.
Would you consider maybe some kind of signage around the parking area? Please be respectful of our neighbors. They want to live here. Something like that, just to ask people to be a little bit more cognizant of.
I don't see a problem with that at all. We should be able to add something like that. Again, in any kind of signage that we have, like out on the road, like a sort of, up there, it'd be like a monument sign, a low light sign.
Yeah, but that'd be light that could be penetrating onto her property or the other neighbor's property, so.
It'll be facing, any light that was on that sign would be facing east or west, so it'd be, it wouldn't be like facing the street, it'd be like, kind of, if you're driving down the street, you'd see it, but if not, if you're living across from it, it would just look like the side of the sign, so it wouldn't be lit up that way.
I see on your display here, you have a 6-foot privacy fence. What type of fence you planning on putting in there?
Well, currently it's a wood slat fence, depending on how that goes. It looked like one of them was actually updated recently. So again, we would work with the neighbors to figure out exactly how that goes, if they needed something else. And through design review, we'd also have to provide some kind of idea of what we wanted to put that fence with. So it'll either be more wood slat or it'll end up being a vinyl type fence.
Privacy nonetheless, though.
Sure. Yeah, right. We won't have like a chain link with like slats through it or anything.
Concrete sound barrier.
Right, exactly.
Freeway sound barrier.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, remind me again about how late would the business stay open? I know that.
It wouldn't be open any later than 9.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other
That's it.
questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So what do we think? Thoughts?
It ought to kind of look like a cool little neighborhood restaurant, a good use of that skinny little lot that goes back there, because there's not much you can do with that thing.
And really for the foot traffic, there's a little teeny restaurant kind of like this over in Pocatello in a park called Tater Tots Pod. I don't know what it's called, but it literally draws pedestrian traffic there, and it's very low key, and it's good food, and they sit around in tables on the outside, and there's not any cars, but it just draws that pedestrian traffic. So that's how I kind of see something like this. I like it. And I do think, to Commissioner Morgan's comment about the traffic going in there, I can see how those cars would back out of that angled parking and loop back around onto Roosevelt, but even loop back around through that alley to get maybe to Meffin or the other street to go back, rather than going out onto 12th Avenue. So there could be some, I just don't think there would be that many cars.
No, and even at that point, there's not going to be lights shining back towards them.
Well, yeah, it was if they're heading back out.
If they loop back around on the alley.
Towards
But they'd be going down the alley, which is perpendicular to their houses.
Oh, it's directly headed towards
It's
that.
directly headed toward her house.
Down the alley?
Yeah.
Because they would be facing the exit of the alley, right?
No,
Yeah, and she's across the street from that. She's not sharing the property line with.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I feel for that. I'm a little worried that the biggest problem is the stuff that's already there that we can't really do anything about. And,
Utilities?
No, the businesses that are already there are the ones, causing the problem. Like the problem's already there, and
Yeah, the coffee shop.
The
I
coffee
think,
shop,
there's a
I
lot
think,
more
right?
traffic
But the
than
rest of it,
overhead.
not so much.
yeah, sorry, yeah, I should have been clear on that.
But I think, the 9 o'clock is pretty standard for around here, and that's not excessively late, so,
And 10 a.m. isn't excessively early either.
right?
But I don't know if is there anything we could even do to help mitigate that?
The way that it's laid out, I don't see how.
Well, that's what I'm saying, ask people to be cognizant of the neighbors and, be kind, be quiet. Unfortunately, if you're living along 12th Avenue or close to 12th Avenue, you got so many cars going up and down 12th with these mufflers that sound like Mack trucks that, this I don't think would make that much of a difference, really. I mean, I understand any car would be a difference, but I don't think it would be any worse than what it is now, really.
Right, but how many stalls did it have? Like 5, right?
6, I counted 6.
Not very many cars can go to that business.
No,
at one
plus
point in time.
people that work there are going to take up 1 or 2 spaces anyway.
Yeah, and I think because there's no drive-through, there's no outdoor speakers, there's no outdoor ordering.
Right.
So that's also going to help.
Yeah. If it makes a motion, I think just put some kind of condition about signage for asking for people to be respectful of the neighbors. Be quiet. Shut up.
Yeah, I like the sentiment. I don't know that I would want to put that condition on it.
Yeah.
Kind of people that are being rude aren't going to read the sign.
Yeah, they aren't going to care.
Any other discussion? Vice Chair, I'll make a motion if we're ready.
Sounds good.
I think so.
All right, I will move to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment from RD to BC zoning district and potential development agreement for 1215 13th Street South and right-of-way in front of the parcel for a total of .389 acres for Aaron Randall, JGT Architecture, representing Brenda and Oswaldo Rodriguez, with all conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Kirkman, seconded by Garner to approve this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You didn't.
Follow-up question, what is the food? What kind of food is it going to be? Do you know yet? Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, we will move on to item number 3. Conditional use permit for a light automotive repair shop in a BC zoning district at 412 Caldwell Boulevard for Archer's Auto Repair.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Scott Schmid. My address is 12109 West Greenstone Street in Nampa. I own Archer's Auto Repair, which has been operating out of Caldwell off of Cleveland Boulevard since 2020. And we're looking to open an additional facility here in Nampa at 412 Caldwell Boulevard. A little about me and my company. I started the company in 2020, and it was just me and one vehicle hoist in the back of a car lot. And since then, I've grown the company. Last year, we did 1.5 million in sales. I employ 6 people to the tune of over $500,000 a year in payroll. This new shop that we want to open is twice as big. The square footage is twice as big. And so I anticipate I'll be, employing at least as many people, and we anticipate doing about $2.5 million in revenue yearly for the first 2 years. The building that I would like to use has, according to the landowner, has always been used for automotive work. The last 10 or 15 years, it was previously an auto body shop, an auto paint and body repair. And when I first looked at leasing this summer, I actually backed out because I went down there and it just looked so bad because all the junk cars and, half disassembled cars, wrecked cars parked everywhere. And I don't know if you guys have the Google Earth picture, but it still has all the cars around it. It was actually bad enough that I said no, and then he got it cleaned up and said, hey, come take a second look. The previous owner, like I said, it did not take care of the property, and it looked really, really bad. So this would be a huge improvement for anybody else living or working in the area. The building is not visible from the street, so there wouldn't be any kind of a visual impact, although the building has been repainted in the last couple months. And I pride myself on keeping a very nice presentation on my business. We don't anticipate having anything more than 20 to 25 cars parked at the property at any given time. There is a need for additional auto repair shops in Nampa. There are some very nice shops, very professional and very busy shops in Nampa, and a lot of them are scheduled out weeks or even months. So there is a need to have more professional auto repair shops in Nampa. A lot of the local auto shop owners are retiring or getting out of the business entirely, which is leaving less local options for people from Nampa. And as the large chains move in, we don't get that Idaho feel anymore. At present, we already have over 300 customers that are coming to Caldwell from Nampa. And in case you care, I've been an Idaho resident for all my life. My mom moved here when I was 2, and I've been a Nampa resident since 1998, and I still do business the Idaho way, which is honesty and integrity. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Mr. Schmidt, we got a
I
question.
had a question for you.
Yes.
Could we put up the aerial of the buildings that are there? Yeah, that one there.
Yes.
So all those cars there that was before, it looks like there's 3 addresses, like 100, 101, or 102, or 104.
So the building on the left, the long rectangular building, is the one that I will be using. For whatever reason, it maybe at some point was developed to have 2 suites, so it has 2 addresses. It has an entry door on either end of the building. But the center wall that apparently used to be there is no longer there, and it's just one big warehouse.
So you'll be in that long building in the front, not the one in the back?
Correct. The one in the back is currently used for a company that has a bunch of snow plows and ice trucks. They have the big sprayers in the back. On some of the Google views, they've shown it looks like empty lots out towards Cleveland Boulevard, but those lots had just been paved, so those are actually 2 car lots, so they're full of cars all the time. So depending on what view you're seeing, sometimes it looks like it's empty and you would be able to see that building. Another thing is that building's actually recessed down about 3 feet from the surrounding area. You can't see it on the map, but you can, when you drive past and you look to the right, you literally can't see the building at all.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We'll call you back if we need. Thanks. Rodney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director, for the record. I think he's done a good job of describing what he plans to do. Just go over some details of the property. It's in the comprehensive plan, it's identified as commercial. The zoning, kind of a mix here, heavy industrial to the north, but that's the railroad, and then everything else around it is zone BC. There is some light industrial, but again, that in the area, but that's again the industrial yard, or excuse me, the rail yard. A little closer view here of that zoning. The utilities are in the area and serve the property. Here's the aerial view again. So just highlighted the BC zone here that requires the conditional use permit. The reason we're here today is because over time we've changed what requires a conditional use permit. So in the past, the auto repair, auto related businesses may not, or likely were not required to get a conditional use permit in the BC zone. But over time, with direction from elected leadership and approval of code changes, that is now a requirement. So it does require a conditional use permit. You've seen these before. These are the criteria that they have to follow. You've heard those tonight, so I'm not going to spend any time on those. But in order to approve this, you will have to find that each of these criteria are met. We did receive some correspondence. The building department said that the auto repair business will be required to comply with all of the requirements of the current adopted codes for minor repair garage. And the following is the current adopted codes, and they list all of those different codes. I forgot to mention that the reason that that there's some requirements that we're placing on this is because we're changing the use from an auto body, thank you, to the auto repair. And so as the change of use happens, there's additional things that need to be done because of it, because of that change in use. Okay, so engineering had their comments. They talked about the utilities and the access. And they had one condition, that all standards be followed and codes be followed at the time of development. Code compliance, no observable code violations currently at this location. Just want to reemphasize something that the applicant said. The owner of the property has talked to me several times, and he said he just wanted to get that other business out of there because it just looked junky back there, and so he wanted to get a legitimate business in here that would clean up the property. So that's his intention, his stated intention. So here are the proposed conditions. Pretty standard, except that that last one, applicant owner shall stripe the public parking for the property and shall designate an ADA parking space prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. I just couldn't see that it was painted. It may be, but from the aerial views, I couldn't see that it was painted. Then those others are pretty standard. So here are the proposed findings. The first one, the proposed automobile or truck repair business meets the goals and strategies outlined in the Nampa Comprehensive Plan because it is utilizing an empty commercial building for a business that is specifically identified in the Comprehensive Plan as appropriate for the applicable zoning, and the plan highlights the importance of the city supporting the retention, expansion, and recruiting of businesses. Next, the proposed automobile or truck repair business will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity through design, construction, operation, and maintenance because it will not change its appearance that is already established. Third, the proposed automobile or truck repair business is a use that will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services because the facility is already being served by essential public facilities and services, including sewer, water, police, and fire district services. Fourth, the proposed automobile or truck repair business will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community because the primary use of the property will be a use that fits the apparent intended purpose for the existing building and is compatible with the surrounding businesses. And finally, the proposed automobile or truck repair business will not involve activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors, because it will retain its existing appearance and operation and will remain compatible with existing nearby uses because they provide similar impacts. And there's a couple of motions for your consideration, and I'd be happy to stand for questions if you have any.
Rodney,
yeah.
If you have a change of use, like you said, right, we're changing the use, does the building department do any inspections at all? As far as when they do that, is that any requirement? I don't think that it is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they issue a certificate of occupancy, and I don't know, I'm kind of looking over at Daniel to help me with this question.
So typically, if there is a change of use, yes, they would do an inspection to verify that it meets code. It wouldn't necessarily be a certificate of occupancy. It may just be a certificate of compliance. But yeah, the building department, typically when we would get a change of use there, they would do that inspection.
The only reason I ask is I think Mr. Schmidt, when he was talking, he talked about that there was an interior wall that was taken down, that it maybe at one point in time was separated into two businesses. And no, I don't need you to, I was just going to say, I'm referencing what you had said, that sometimes would be a firewall, a separation wall. And if that thing was taken down and you have two separate occupancies, or if there's a square footage that requires that separation, that might be a red flag. And I don't know, and I'm just going off of what he said, that might be something that we would want to look at to see that it does comply with code.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'll just make sure to talk with the building department and make sure they are aware of this situation.
Yeah.
Commissioner Garner, we do have a pre-app meeting set up to speak with the building department on this project.
Good point, though. Good
Yeah,
point.
good bit of
Good catch.
load-bearing wall or something.
Probably not.
It's not going to load bearing, but it could be a fire separation wall.
Sure, well,
If you go to just one occupant, you probably don't need the firewall anymore.
Correct, but sometimes square footage is also, it has to break up the square
Requires,
footages
yeah.
because the building is small, maybe not likely, but it's worth checking.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this proposal? Okay. Any reason to call Mr. Schmidt back up? Questions for him?
No, I'm good.
He just needs to be given the opportunity.
Would you like to come back up and say anything in conclusion?
Forget to mention that we actually already had a PAM meeting set up for all of the codes, the inspectors come in and to let me know what will be required so that I can have that all done before they come in and do the inspections for the occupancy permit. And the load-bearing wall, it's not a load-bearing wall or a firewall, it was a half wall on one side.
Okay.
So I already looked at that part. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion carries. Thoughts? concerns? Good idea.
Looks like it's going to be a big improvement.
Yeah, I like it. Definitely cleaning it up.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the amount of business that he is
Yeah, no
generating.
kidding.
I think that's very impressive.
Well, it must, probably speaks to
Quality of his work.
quality of his work and, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion that we approve the conditional use permit for a light automotive repair shop in a BC Community Business Zoning District at 412 Caldwell Boulevard for Archer's Auto Repair. Scott Schmidt representing Brandon Roberts, with the proposed conditions of approval and the proposed findings.
Second.
It's been moved by Garner and seconded by Kehoe to approve this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision and reason statement is provided to the applicant, unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with the Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Thank you. We will keep right on moving to item number 4, rezone from RA to RS4 and preliminary plat for Sunshine Meadows subdivision on a 6.36 acre parcel and potential development agreement for 1426 Chicago Street for residential development to include 28 single-family homes and 11 common lots. Is the applicant here? Come on up.
Can I start?
Yep, go ahead and give us your name and address for the record to start.
So hello, my name is Pratik Parekh. My address is 1326 Northeast 87th Avenue, Hillsboro, Oregon, 97006. I'm here to request the rezoning and preliminary plat approval for Sunshine Meadows. I'm the owner of the property.
Batteries. Maybe he's not close enough to you.
Who's going?
Thank you. The project is located in the northeast corner of Chicago Street and Iowa Avenue, near Greenhurst Elementary School. The property is zoned RA, and we are requesting it to be rezoned to RS4. The comprehensive plan for this area calls for medium-density residential. In 2008, the city approved a plat for 64 townhomes with the RD zoning and annexation, but the builder went bankrupt during the 2008 financial crisis and the property was resold. The previous owner canceled the development agreement and rezoned it to RA to save money on taxes. As you can see, the Elijah drain runs diagonally, splitting the property and making the development more difficult. The property is currently classified as 6.36 acres, but it was classified as 7.72 acres before being annexed into the city. We ended up losing areas in the right-of-ways along Chicago and especially Iowa, where we must build the connection through as part of the development agreement. The northeast portion is roughly 0.97 acres, the drain takes up 1.17 acres, and the area south of the drain is 4.22 acres. The northeast portion has an access easement of 15 feet, which allows us to build only 2 homes so that we could use that easement for development. I consulted with a land use attorney. Given that this parcel was approved for 64 townhomes, last year we proposed a townhome development with 47 townhomes with the RD zoning, which passed the planning and zoning hearing, but it wasn't approved by the council as they felt that townhomes weren't compatible with the area. Based on their feedback, we are back with a proposal of single-family homes with the RS4 zoning. The number of lots has been reduced from 47 townhomes to 26 single-family homes south of the drain. Councilman Bill mentioned that the RS4 zoning was created for infill projects like these that had drains running through them to allow for smaller lots while getting a comparable density to RS6 or RS7. If this parcel didn't have a drain, we could fit up to 32 lots with RS6. So RS4 allows us to get closer to that number. If we have to design with 6,000 square feet lots with RS6, we can only fit a maximum of 17. So that's why we're requesting RS4, even though the surrounding is RS6. During the hearing, the council did a rough calculation and thought that RS4 could allow up to 41 homes, so the RD zoning was not necessary. But as you can see, the best we can do is 28, which is much lower than what they estimated. The neighbors had also mentioned that they would be supportive of 20-something single-family homes, but not townhomes. The subdivision is planned to have a total of 28 homes with a gross density of 4.4 units per acre. The open space is 15.5 acres. Lots south of the drain range from 4,000 square feet to 5,344 square feet, with most being closer to 4,000 square feet. The two lots on the northeast side are approximately half acre each. The landscape plan includes trees, shrubs, and open grass areas throughout the development, with monument signs at the entrance of both Chicago and Iowa. There is a 10-foot pathway with a 20-foot easement that will run along the Elijah Drain. There is a meandering path around the property which completes the walking loop. There is also a covered picnic area near the drain. The drain in this region feels like a creek with lots of existing trees, so having the walking path along it creates the feeling of a nice green belt. The meandering path around the property with the newly planted trees will connect to it, making a nice walking loop. The covered picnic area is placed near the drain to create a nice relaxing spot. We also have a few benches placed throughout the property. The starter pathway is also nearby, and the school has a large playground with basketball courts for kids. These are the elevations for the homes. So we'll be constructing the remaining portion of Iowa, and it will have curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the northeast section of the newly built road. The city does not have plans to make this connection. They're relying on the developer to fund this connection. This connection will help with emergency service response times, and the fire chief was very supportive of this connection. We are also widening the roads and improving the sections along Chicago and Iowa with curb, gutter, sidewalk, and landscape buffering. Here are the street details. The local street will have a 44-foot right-of-way with a 32-foot wide road section and a 5-foot attached sidewalk. So in conclusions, we have considered the feedback from the neighbors and the city council on how to gain approval, and we're presenting a plan that will benefit both the developer and the Nampa community. Thank you.
Anybody have questions? Okay, we'll call you back up if we have some. Christy?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. Not really sure what else to tell you. That was very detailed.
It was very detailed.
Yeah.
The adjacent zonings.
Yeah, okay, we'll just skip right to that. So to the north, we have RS6 zoning, which is a single-family residential subdivision called Wildflower West. To the south, we have RS6, RS8.5, and county properties that are single-family residences. To the east is RS6, which is again the Wildflower West subdivision and the Discovery subdivision. And to the west is county property that is a single-family residence. He went through the history of the property, so I'm not going to belabor that. The proposed RS4 zoning district is a permitted zone under the medium-density residential designation on the future land use map. The homes built in this development will match the area in standard building construction, as you saw in his elevations. Uses that currently exist within a mile of this are the elementary school, many single-family residential subdivisions, and multiple fourplex developments that are within the city limits, as well as a variety of commercial uses on Greenhurst Road and Southside Boulevard. The comprehensive plan defines compatibility, residential areas, and infill. This would fall into that infill category. All of the guiding principles outlined in the comprehensive plan are found to be by staff to be met by this project. The property is located in the medium-density residential designation. It proposes the RS4 zoning, which matches that designation and will be regulated by Chapter 8, the RS zoning district guidelines. So a minimum of 4,000 square feet and a maximum of 8,000 square feet are required for these single-family detached lots. The lot sizes range from 4,001 square feet to 5,220 square feet, with the exception of the two larger outlying lots that measure at 20,979 and 21,234. Due to the unique configuration and topographical challenges in this area, where these two lots are located, the applicant will be asking City Council for an exception to that maximum lot size when they go before them. Master lot widths shall measure equal to or greater than 30 feet. The smallest lot width proposed is 31 feet. Master lot depths shall measure equal or greater to 50 feet. The smallest lot depth is proposed at 79 feet. The number of buildable residential lots equals 28, which creates a gross density of 4.4 dwelling units per acre. This does fall within the range of 2.51 to 8 within that medium density residential designation. The landscape plan was reviewed and approved by the city forester without any corrections. 15% open space is required. Qualified open space is provided on 0.98 acres, which is 15.5% of the gross project area. They will provide a picnic area and a walking path along the Elijah Drain. A traffic impact study is not required for this project. Frontage improvements will be required along Chicago and Iowa. The city will explore acquiring right-of-way on Iowa and coordinate the required improvements during their final design. So there are two exception requests from City Council, which I'm going to tell you about just because we've been talking about them, but you don't need to make a decision on those tonight. The two lots to that northeast side are too large, so they will need to be asking to have those approved to be larger than our maximum allowable lot sizes. The other one, there are two lots right on the eastern boundary. We do have compatibility requirements that require those lots to at least match 80% of the neighboring lot or be 8,000 square feet, whichever is greater. We'll have to talk to them about whether or not they want to proceed with asking for an exception to that requirement, or if they want to just combine the two lots to make an 8,000 square foot lot. But we'll work through that before we go to City Council. So for zoning, there are three criteria that you need to find to be met. The project proposes a zone that is compatible with the adjoining districts. The project proposes a use that is compatible with the adjoining property uses. And the development of this property is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary because it has property subdivision layout that complies with adopted city codes. It has city services available to it, and traffic infrastructure improvements are required to be made. This property is considered to be infill with the unique topographical challenges and proposes a use that is compatible with the surrounding uses. We received correspondence from the building department. The police department indicated a commitment to fund .09 officers and .05 support staff. The fire department indicated that it is approximately 1.5 miles from Nampa Fire Station number 2 with a response time of 4 minutes. This will add a demand for along the Elijah Drain and for the pathway to be constructed. And then engineering lists their standard comments and conditions of approval. Those conditions of approval are listed in your staff report. And should you choose to approve this project, these are the conditions that would go along with that. And these are the potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Christy, in your report, you mentioned the police department response. And there's an item here, I'm not sure what it means. The number one officer-initiated call for service was for school time. Are they going to school now during their time on duty, or?
Officer Christie doesn't know the answer to that.
Commissioner Kehoe, I don't know what that might mean. It might mean that it was something they were called to the school to address.
Okay, if I called Peck tomorrow and asked him?
And you can report back to all of us.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I'm just curious. I've never seen school time.
Well, typically, it's officers that are going there on routine, you know.
But there's initiated calls. It's not routine calls.
So are you asking if there's that much,
I'm asking, I don't know what it is. I was just wondering what was he doing to school? I mean, that was their number one response was school time. I'm not sure what school time means, so I'll just call Lieutenant Peck tomorrow and I'll ask him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either, so, I mean, if you don't know, I don't feel bad.
Christie, I don't know if you know this question. Lots 12, 13, and 14, they're the three down there by the corner of Chicago and Iowa. How are they accessed?
Iowa will go all the way through.
You know, like all the houses have garages, so will those garages be facing Iowa and they'll cut across the landscaping?
Commissioner Garner, typically they aren't allowed to access through their landscape buffer onto those arterial streets. So I imagine there's probably a private driveway that goes back there. I'd have to look at the plat. I think he can
Well, we
probably
can
answer
ask
that.
when he comes back up, if you
Yeah.
want to address that.
Can we bring that site plan back up, just?
I just thought they would access up Iowa. But guess there's landscape there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Christie, do you know, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but is Greenhurst Elementary, was those one of the ones that was closed or repurposed?
Repurposed.
Yes, I believe that was one of the ones that was repurposed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Christie. We'll go to this crowd. Anybody like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item? Go ahead and come on up. Don't forget to give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Jason Ninehouse, and I'm the property owner to the directly to the west at 1425 Chicago Street, Nampa. I'm all for development, and this looks way better than what was previously submitted last time. The one question I did have was what you had. I think that lots 12, 13, and 14, how those are accessed. A little bit of history. So I actually owned this piece of property years and years ago and sold it to the developer who went belly up and under. I did not go bankrupt. That wasn't me. And I had some issues on trying to develop my piece of property there with zoning and annexation and lot sizing. There's a subdivision to the west of me. I think it's called Sandal Creek or something of that nature. And I think they have an effective lot size of roughly 5,000 or 6,000 square foot lots. When I was asked if I could meet the same minimum that subdivision had, I was told I could not. And the reason being was, at that point in time, years and years ago, the reason being was because I was told that the city doesn't understand how that subdivision was put through the paces and how they came to develop, and kind of they shrugged their shoulders that it should have never happened. Those are private roads over there on that subdivision. So my comment or concern is really just with the city of Nampa keeping consistency with approvals and with zoning, and just know that whatever happens here will most likely be taking place or be requested for the additional 5 acres right across the street from it. And so I'd hate to come back here again and be told that, no, we're not doing RS4 anymore. We're not going to approve this. However, we approved the one to the west of you, we approved the one to the east of you, but sorry, you're out of luck because our committee or commission changed hands again, and we just changed our mind. So I just ask for consistency with how the city is approving stuff. And so if this is in fact meeting all your criteria for comprehensive plan, RS4 is approved, great. We have 5 more acres right across the street that'll probably be looking for the same exact position. So I think that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Go and come on up.
Zener, and I am the house on Iowa, 2317 East Iowa Ave. So our property is pretty much next one over, right there. We're going to be facing right at one of the entrances that they're creating. And we are not opposed to construction. I'm going to miss the cows. They were really cute to watch running across. But I am concerned, really, not only with the traffic, with the construction, how that's going to affect our house, because our house is literally the only one that's facing this property. Everybody else has kind of turned to the side or turned away, so we get a front row view. I work from home. My office is right in the living room. It's a family home that's been there. Well, my father-in-law built it back in, I don't know, 78 or something. And we have a lot of work to do on the property just to clean it up from the neglect that it had for years and years. We are already getting complaints because there's too much garbage, there's too much this. We're trying to clean it up and get it out, and bringing in that much more traffic and that much more construction. We're just worried about how that's going to affect the property and us trying to get our area cleaned up and taken care of. The road is very, very narrow. I know they said that they're going to expand that out, which is fantastic. We had, in fact, the funny thing is there's a tree that's showing right up in the front of that aerial view. That tree got hit by a car last spring. Somebody that wasn't paying attention. They looked down at their radio and ran over the lilac shrub that'd been there for 30 years. So, and that happens a lot, apparently. We get people that will randomly drive through the yard or, not pay attention to, what is a residential home. The other issue that I'm kind of concerned about is the fact that we are county. We are one of the few county homes that's there. Everybody else is going to be city, and it very easily could mean that we're going to get annexed in. So ours is that little gray spot they're looking at right there. So we're concerned about that, or how is that going to affect our taxes? How is that going to affect our property taxes with that many homes? It's beautiful, and I'm not opposed to it, but I am worried about how that's going to affect us because we're right smack dab going to be in the middle of that. And so I have some issues, I have some concerns, and I hope that we can at least think about it a little more or have some conversations, which we might need to have a conversation about this. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You're the only one there on Iowa. You like the idea that Iowa will be connected, or you don't?
I like the fact that they're going to widen that road because we've had way too many accidents. We've had way too many, just the spring took out a lilac tree. So,
I thought I heard you say you were in favor of the connection. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like that there's somebody that's going to be paying attention to that little strip of property, but also keeping in mind that, there's just two of us right there that are still county and kind of being bullied into having to be a part of the subdivision. So I worry about that. We want to clean it up, we want to make it nice, but it's had 50 years of neglect that we're trying to clean up now. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Pradick, you want to come back up and answer some questions for us?
Can you bring up the PowerPoint again? Okay. So in talking with the staff during the staff meeting when we started the project, those 3 lots are not required to have a landscape buffer within the property lines, unlike the rest of the property, because they are facing Iowa. So just like the homes you see on the other side, part of the landscaping is actually not within the property lines, it's actually in the right-of-way. So similarly, those homes will have some landscaping outside of the property line, just like you see those homes on the south that are facing Iowa. So, and those driveways are pretty long. They're going to be 35 foot or longer because of that. So the staff said that that was allowed when we met with them before beginning the project.
So what you're saying is the entrance to those lots are coming off of Iowa?
Yeah.
Because of that reason?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to show you the minimum distance from the driveway entrance is supposed to be 40 feet. And you can see ours will be actually 50 foot. So we'll meet that guidance from the manual.
It's almost like they're not part of the neighborhood because they face their entrances off of Iowa.
I mean, they're next to the green space, so that's another good thing for the property in front. So if you see, she said she works from home, so she likes to look out. So if you see there's a green space in front of her location, and then those 3 homes, they can still take that sidewalk and, complete the loop around the property and stuff, so.
Okay.
And then Iowa, you guys probably know, is a very residential street. There's homes all up and down Iowa, in front of the school and this, right there in front, across.
So all 3 of those lots will have their own driveway out onto Iowa?
Yep.
Okay.
And then regarding the traffic, one problem this area has is every time you need to enter or exit, you have to get onto Amity and then get on Chicago. You can't really take Iowa and then exit off Kings Road, which is really annoying. So that's going to solve the problem there. So I think that's actually going to help traffic, not make it worse. And we're widening Iowa to like 40 feet in that across that property there. So it's a pretty big improvement there. So.
It'll be a big traffic flow help, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah, with really everything. Like Mr. Vice Chair, if maybe we could ask staff about the annexation question that she had about her property, just to clarify that there's not forced annexation and all that kind of stuff.
Before we do that, any other questions for Mr. Pradick?
No, he answered the question that I had, so
Okay.
yeah, we're good.
We're good?
Sorry,
Should we close public hearing?
I guess we could, either way.
Rodney on the annexation thing.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I think the question from the concerned resident across the street was, what is it going to do to her property taxes? That's a complicated question.
Well, excuse me, Rodney, I think the question was more, is she going to become
Annexed into the city, right.
And therefore would affect her property taxes, yeah.
Yeah, good question. So there is currently no policy in place to annex to, I don't like the term forced annex, but we don't do that. We haven't done that. Right. Frankly, from a planning perspective, they're getting all the services that the city provides in that area. They have access to utilities, although if they're not using it at this point, they have the roadways, the fire, the police. If any of those services were called out, they would go to this location. So they're not utilizing the utilities. If they were to utilize the utilities, they would be required to annex into the city. Currently, we're not pushing for annexation of properties, and so likely in this scenario that property would stay out in the county, and that wouldn't change their property values, or excuse me, their property taxes. Their values could be impacted by this, but likely it would increase values of the homes around that area instead of decrease.
Isn't one of the requirements of annexation that the property owner consents to it?
So there's a couple of different approaches to annexation. And what you typically see, and in fact, what I have only seen you see, is when there's consent of the property owners. So there's a different kind of annexation that we don't see hardly ever. And
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Rodney. I think that's it.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
So I would ask a follow-up to Christie about the 3 lots there and how they exit on. Does that have any bearing on the?
So I might answer for a portion of that anyway, and Christie can talk about the landscape buffer. So Iowa and Chicago are local roadways, and so if they were classified as collectors or arterials, our policies would not allow those approaches onto Iowa, but because they are local, that is allowable for those driveways to come out there.
But it doesn't affect any landscaping requirements that are part of that?
Commissioner Garner, so typically a house has a 20-foot setback that would be landscaped. So technically, their front yards of those would be part of that ongoing landscape buffer that would then go across to the entrance.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
It's been moved and seconded. We close public hearing. All those in
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
A whole lot more than the last one because I was against the.
Drastic changes to accommodate.
Listen to the neighbors and city council,
And we get a connection with Iowa.
Yeah, but I live right there, and that's going to cause more traffic.
Well.
I go complain about the traffic from that side.
You can.
I think that I do.
Good, you won't listen to me, will you?
I think that I do prefer, I like the fact that they've got those 3 because of the residential feel, right? And it's not going to feel like it's this thing that's stuck behind some fences, right? Because I don't think that you're going to have a fence there, especially if you have the park and then the 3 homes. There would be no fence along that road. And I think that would really add to it.
I think this will
as opposed to detracting.
flow a lot better to what's already there.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Big improvement.
It seems a little dense to me, but I think that's the cost of having them finish the road for us, and I think it's a good trade-off, especially with the complications of that lot.
But I think that's the purpose of the RS4 for these in projects that have these smaller lots, infill. So it might seem a little more dense, but I think it's.
Yeah.
Good.
Are there, because there's exceptions we make for infill stuff, or we're not applying any exceptions on this, are we?
Commissioner Morgan, they have not asked for any exceptions. They're going to meet code for that zone.
So they could theoretically do more, so I'm good with it.
Mr. Vice Chair, any other comments from? All right, then I'll make a motion.
Good.
Move that we recommend approval of the rezone from RA to RS4 and preliminary plat for Sunshine Meadows subdivision, a 6.36 acre and potential development agreement for 1426 Chicago Street for Becky Izagire. Ardura Engineers representing Parek Pratik. Hope I got that right, my apologies. Owner with all conditions listed in the staff report and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
Second.
It's been motion by Kirkman, second by Selman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Vice Chair, can we have a 5-minute break?
I'm good. We don't have to stop.
Let's take a 5-minute break and be back here at 7:51.
I didn't expect that, but I agree with you, though. We don't.
think that's the first time anybody's used that, isn't it?
He's getting sophisticated.
All right. It is time. Everybody's back and refreshed. Everybody ready? Yep. Okay. We will move on to the next item. Conditional use permit for a kennel license in an RS7 zoning district at 17592 North Onaway Avenue for Teresa and Robert Jacobs for Jacobs Kennel. Is the applicant here? Go and come on up. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Yeah, hi. I'm Teresa Jacobs, my husband Robert Jacobs. We live at 17592 North Onaway. Basically, we're here today to continue the process of obtaining a kennel license for our home. I would like to begin with saying that even though we're applying for a kennel license, we really aren't asking for a kennel. We lived here, we moved here a few years ago. We do have 4 family dogs. We didn't know that living here in Nampa for the last 2 years that we were only supposed to have a 2-dog minimum for each household. So at that point, we decided we need to file for this kennel licensing. Currently, actually, one of the dogs is technically our daughter's, but she's been away at college. She has moved home, so we do have her dog with us. That's one of the 4 dogs. And as soon as they get married, they'll probably be moving, and one of the dogs will be going with her. The other dog is technically our son's dog, but he's in and out of relationships, and so we've kind of kept the dog with us because we didn't want the dog to get something happen to the dog. So when we moved, the dog came with us. Other than that, you know, we respect your guys' obviously your decisions, but that's kind of why we're here. We're just kind of wanting to make sure we don't break any laws for our dogs.
Been living illegally for a couple of years and now you want to make it.
Yeah, we've been there for two years and we didn't even know that this was a thing. Yeah, well, even when the dog pound came out, they walked the street, I guess, a little bit, and they said, when they came and knocked on the door, they're like, "You have dogs?" And we're like, "Yeah, 4." And they're like, "They're not barking." And we're like, "Yeah, we know." So, yeah, nobody really even said anything about it, but we just didn't want to, we didn't want any trouble. I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Damian, you're up.
Thank you, Vice Chairman and Commissioners. The requested action item for tonight is a conditional use permit for a kennel license and an RS7 single-family residential. So the property details for the comprehensive map, this is medium-density residential. The surrounding properties are all RS7 single-family residential to the north, south, east, and west, followed by some large lot county residential lots with public utilities already in access to the property. Here are the criteria for a conditional use permit as discussed through earlier presentations tonight. There was no comments on this application. So the proposed findings for approval, the first finding that the proposed use is supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan. Having pets is, we consider this supported by the comprehensive plan because having a pet is an accessory use to a residential zoning district. To the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the property and project will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. The current use will not change, so we found this criteria to be met. Number 3, the current use as a residential house is already being served adequately by public facilities and services. Number 4, for the proposed use will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. The existing use isn't changing, so it will not affect that impact. And 5, that the proposed use will not involve any activities, processes, materials, or equipment and conditions that will be detrimental to any persons, property, or general welfare by any reason of excess traffic, noise, smoke, or odors. For this, we found it to be met as long as proper maintenance of the property to negate any odors and noise is met. Here are your conditions for approval. These are the standard conditions, as well as the applicant will apply for that kennel license after the issuance of the conditional use permit and that the applicant shall maintain a clean property of all dog feces and that they're disposed in containers at least once a week. Here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
So just technical question. We used to call these non-commercial, what do we call them?
Yeah, non-commercial kennel.
Non-commercial kennel license, or kennel permits or whatever, and then I thought a kennel license was something different. Is that?
No.
Because isn't the kennel license from a different department?
No.
Or am I making all this up?
Same department,
just it was
Okay.
just different, though. There was
It might have been worded
there
different.
was different ones.
There's just different classifications per how many dogs
Sure.
allowable by zone.
So maybe they, instead of calling it a non-commercial, they call the commercial kennel license.
So we don't differentiate between commercial and non-commercial anymore?
I don't believe with this, there is a distinction for commercial when it comes to like the BC zoning. That'd be a separate conditional use permit. But this one is just a standard kennel license.
We can clarify with Rodney when he comes back.
Okay.
Where did Ronnie go?
He's coming back. He's making copies.
For some reason, I thought there was a separate permit that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
we did word it a little bit differently, and I can't remember the exact wording, so I'm not going to.
We used to get these all the time. It's been a while. It's been a while. And I remember we even changed some of the language, so.
Because it said non-commercial kennel. It said it on the, that was how it used to be worded, yeah.
Well.
And while we're waiting, I didn't see a police report or animal control report. There wasn't any, or, okay.
No comments.
I didn't even see no comment.
Which, that's a good thing.
This is a comment, yeah.
Well, maybe somebody hit it, you know.
Maybe somebody hit it.
Whoops, let's not use this one.
Okay, thanks, Damian. We'll go ahead and open public testimony. Is there anybody here that'd like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item? Doesn't look like it. So now we sit and wait for Rodney?
Nice.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Come on, run.
Okay. We need clarification on differentiation between non-commercial and commercial kennel licenses and why this isn't specified as such. Because we used to have it that way, we'd call it a non-commercial kennel license.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a kennel license, but you're right, this could be called a non-commercial kennel license.
I remember we worked on the language for this a while ago. Was that one of the things that changed as we took out that differentiation?
I don't think so. Let me look at the code.
I was thinking maybe we just called it kennel license and then a commercial we would call a commercial.
That might be. Give me just a second, let me look at that.
I have the code pulled up here on the definitions of commercial kennel versus non-commercial kennel. So it is broken out into the two. Non-commercial kennel says any lot, building, or enclosure or portion thereof in which more than 2 dogs, pigs, or at least 6 months of age are kept, maintained, or boarded, excluding one documented service animal for the use and enjoyment of the owner for personal, non-commercial purposes.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one says at which services are rendered in exchange for a fee and in the absence of the owner of such animal.
I remember the conversation about the pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Dogs and pigs.
That was a memorable one.
The things we learned.
I don't know that it affects my decision. I just want to make sure we do.
Does it really
just
make
for
any
clarity,
difference?
if you want to clarify that in your motion, I think that would be fine.
Just say non-commercial.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have one question for the applicant.
Okay.
I want to know what breeds the dogs are.
She's a dog person. It's okay.
It's probably why the applicant, and I'm just assuming here, it's called Jacob's Kennel because it looks like she's applying for a commercial.
That made it seem like there
Yeah.
is a commercial.
I noticed that too.
Well,
Yeah.
I think if you're worried about it too, I think what we've done before is put a maximum of 4 dogs.
Well, I thought that a non-commercial had a maximum of.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
Yeah.
It is.
Or pigs.
Or pigs.
And/or pigs.
Or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Just more than 2 pigs or dogs.
He doesn't limit it to
No,
4.
it doesn't limit it.
There's no max.
We've done that before.
We've put a max on.
Is that what we want to do here? Just say non-commercial kennel license with a maximum of 4 dogs.
Perfect, you got it.
Okay.
Go for it.
I'll make a
Wait,
motion.
wait, wait.
Oh, we gotta wait. We gotta
Oh,
vote
Close public hearing.
I'm not even, I am way ahead of us, I'm sorry. I'll make a motion, well, unless, did they want to, you want to come back? I'm sorry, I'm stepping on the chair.
Do you have anything to come back up for?
Roll your roll there, Morgan.
You could ask them if they have a problem with the limit.
Why don't you come back up? Why don't you come back up? We'd all feel better about it. Would you have a issue with us limiting it to 4 or 5 dogs?
No.
4. yeah.
4? 4.
And it is non-commercial.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Jacob's Kennel is
You don't have to
not
name it.
relevant. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
No, it's just our dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
thank you.
I make a motion, we close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved, seconded, and third to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Go Drew.
Can I go now?
Go ahead, Drew.
Commissioner Morgan, I'd be,
I move we approve the conditional use permit for a non-commercial kennel license in an RS7 zoning district at 17592 North Onaway Avenue, a 2.24 acre parcel for Teresa and Robert Jacobs, for Jacobs Kennel, they can name it, with the condition of a maximum of 4 dogs.
Second.
it's been moved by Morgan, seconded by Kehoe to approve this conditional use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Read it again.
Gotta read it again, third time. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision and reason statement is provided to the applicant unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with the Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals.
Keep it out, the next one, the CUP.
Thank you.
Take care of the dogs.
Or pigs.
Or pigs, or a combination of the two. Okay, item number 6, conditional use permit for a crematory and funeral home in a BC zoning district at 102 and 106 11th Avenue North. A total of .48 acres for James Schramer, representing All Valley Cremation. Is the applicant here? Come on up.
My name is Jim Schmier. I'm the owner and managing director at All Valley Cremation. Address is 1196 West Eiger Drive in Nampa. I currently own All Valley Cremation that's located up on 11th Avenue North, kind of by the old water tower and the overpass there just before you get to the golf course and the old state school. We've been there for about 7 years, and we have served over 4,000 families in our community. We have filled a need in our community that has allowed us to grow to be one of the biggest funeral service providers in the entire Treasure Valley. And so we've served many, many families from Nampa. We've brought business in from other neighboring towns throughout the Treasure Valley. And our hope is to stay here. We are under contract to purchase a building at just down the street from where we are now. It's at 102 11th Avenue North, which is adjacent to the railroad tracks there. Currently, Mad Max Motorcycles is in there. There's been several motorcycle bars and things like that in there. We are purchasing that property and renovating it to put our funeral establishment in it. You can see on the screen a rendering of what we think the building will look like when it's complete. We've been working with an architect to not just create the building, but to renovate what we think is a historically relevant building in our community. It was built in 1898. It was the first blacksmith shop in Nampa, and we think that it's worth saving. I'll tell you, our structural engineer, after he did his review, he ended his review with the statement, "I think that this building has served a good life and should be scraped," was his word. We disagree with that. We think that it should be restored, and it'll be a wonderful funeral facility that'll allow us to serve the families in our community better than we have to this point. Part of that is that we want to put a crematory in it. When you put a crematory in, there's some obvious questions that come up about pollution and how that's going to affect the neighborhoods or the neighbors within the neighborhood. The equipment that we use is the best equipment in the country and arguably the entire world. Can we go to the next slide? There's an illustration up here of, is it possible to turn that? It illustrates a lot of the things that the EPA and the DEQ look at as far as identifying polluters. And I'll tell you, as far as the EPA is concerned, crematories are considered, and the Idaho DEQ, crematories are considered quote-unquote non-polluters. And this graphic shows some of the comparisons of the main pollution elements that the EPA and the DEQ are looking at and how we compare. You can see it's significantly less. There is nothing that is emitted from our machine that is a risk to the health of people around us. Visibly, so things that people are concerned with tend to be smoke, odor, and noise. So this machine uses very accurately controlled, very precisely controlled computer systems to operate the cremation and does not emit visible emissions of any kind. In the process of kind of cleaning that air, it eliminates any possibility of odor in the neighborhood. And as far as noise goes, they have done testing that's verified that outside of the building, there's not going to be anything audible. You know, with the surrounding noise in the neighborhood, it's not going to be even audible in that area. So we feel like the equipment that we're using is the best of the best. We feel like the service that we're providing to the community is going to be vastly improved by being in this new facility. I don't know if you got copies of this. If you're interested in how the equipment accomplishes that, this really breaks down all of the details of that, and I can get copies for you if you don't have that. But our request is simply for a crematory conditional use permit for this facility.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I don't know how to word this politely. They will be cremated here, but no services are held here at this building? I mean, will there be like a funeral? People will come and...
Yeah. So there won't be a large gathering space in this facility. We will make arrangements with families for the cremation, you know, doing all the paperwork, vital records, information, that kind of thing. So we'll be making the arrangements in that facility. We will be, you know, a family could do what we refer to as a witness cremation. There's certain religions, Buddhists, it's very important for them to be there, for the family to be there when the cremation starts. So there's a small gathering space that will only accommodate about 12 people at a time, and then just regular in and out besides that. You know, it's very limited, really. I couldn't imagine that there'd ever be more than 25 people in the facility at a time.
Or nothing like a wake or something like that?
No, no full funeral services, no.
Yeah, that's what I was driving at. Thank you.
No, 80% of everybody that is cremated, everyone that dies in the Treasure Valley and Canyon and Ada counties combined, 80% are cremated. About 80% of those, all the family wants from the funeral home is to do the cremation. So that's kind of the niche that we are filling.
Are you bringing the equipment down from your other one, or are you getting new equipment for this?
So we are bringing the equipment down from the other one. The equipment that we have at the other one, we actually upgraded. It literally is the most technologically advanced cremation equipment on the planet. And that was actually replaced. It's only 2 years old. We replaced our old one with it. After COVID, there was a need for more capacity in the valley, and we stepped up and met that need.
But you're not going to keep the other one open that's up farther up 11th.
We're not going to keep the other business open, no. That we don't intend to, no. Mm-mm.
Well, I like the looks of the rendering compared to that red thing. And I like you saving the old building. I think that's a great idea instead of tearing it down.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Anybody else?
You do pets?
Great. No pets. No pets.
Okay, thank you. We'll call you back up if you have questions later. Rodney.
Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director for the record. Every so often you come across a project that's really difficult to present to staff, and I just wanted to remind you that staff's analysis of these projects are just trying to be center of the line conditional use permits. You have to weigh the facts and make a decision as a commission. So I will be presenting the information, and then you are responsible for making the decision. So the comprehensive plan shows this area as community mixed use. The zoning on this project is BC. Oh, sorry about that. You can see that here, a little closer view. It's surrounded by BC and then also some industrial. Again, the railroad, the rail yard there, and 11th Avenue. And then to the south there's a cinder block building. I couldn't tell what it was. There was a name on the building. I can't see it on my screen, but. Oh, is it? Okay. Boxing gym, I'm told. I couldn't tell what it was. I think it was called Champions on there. So, all right, there's just a street view of that. And as the applicant has stated, there was a bar in there before, a biker bar. There are some landscape standards that would apply to this development, so I pointed those out. Obviously, where the building is, that wouldn't be, the 20-foot setback is not going to be applicable here. We're not going to force a setback when it's not possible. The specific scope of requirements relating to site improvements, this is just to show how the code can be applied. Because you're changing the use of the property, then the code says that those additional standards may apply. So that bottom right-hand corner there is essentially saying that. So again, paving, planter interrupts, striping of the parking lot. I didn't know how much space inside the building would be needed for the gathering or the, what do we call it, the assembly. And so that was good information we learned tonight about no more than 25 people. Okay, so here is the requirements for the assembly space for mortuaries. 1 per 75 square feet of gross floor area used for assembly would require a parking space. And then what I said was 1 per 150 square feet of used net floor area for the medical offices. But I also put this other one, 1 per 300 square feet. It just depends on what they're doing in that office space. So we'd analyze that at building permit stage. And then the conditional use permit criteria. And then we received agency correspondence on this. The first one is engineering, and just stated the access comments, and that they'll need to get the ITD review and their permit. Idaho Transportation Department made their comments about access. And then Building Department, they'll need to do a TI for all of the changes they need to make. That will result in, because they have to go through this process, they'll have to go through design review and get all the approvals through design review. Okay, so I highlighted some changes the 3 main bullet points that in front of you on your desk is a letter from our Economic Development Director, who is here tonight, and she's going to testify, I believe. But if she doesn't, this is her comments, and so I just wanted to highlight her 3 main comments. She's stating that the project would have a long-term economic impact that could impair the development of North Nampa and the overall potential growth of the area. And I've highlighted the 3 main points. It's situated at a critical gateway to downtown Nampa, and so it's critical that they get the right type of business there. The second bullet point is this location of a crematory would limit the opportunities for higher value use that could generate more jobs, tax revenue, and economic activity. And then it's incompatible with long-term planning and economic development design work being completed using the $5 million RAISE grant funds. And that design work is being done right now for the North Nampa area that this falls in. Staff analysis, I put this in your staff report. The parking stalls will need to be evaluated at the time of the building permit. I was a little concerned because it was a mortuary as well, and I was concerned that this would have large gatherings of people, but as he's indicated, that doesn't seem to apply as much, at least. So here are the proposed conditions if you decide to approve it. And then some findings. I have to warn you, I've made some changes on the PowerPoint presentation from what was in your packet. And this first one didn't change, just same as was proposed. And then I did alter this one in red. So I had made a copy and paste mistake on the business description. But the last fact says any alterations to the exterior of the building will be required to comply with design review standards in Title 10, Chapter 34. And then the last of that, and the applicant has indicated plans to improve the appearance of the exterior of the building and will be required to go through the design review committee process. So it appears to still comply with this criteria. The next, no changes to criteria number 3. The proposed funeral home and crematorium business is a use that will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services because the facility is already being served by essential public facilities and services, including city utilities, police, and fire district services. This one is the most significant changes I made. The last bullet point there was because of the late comment we received from the Economic Development Department Director, indicating that the proposed use is a gateway into the downtown and would have a long-term economic impact that could impair the development of North Nampa and the overall potential growth of the area. The conclusion then is that weighing these facts, though the use is a permitted use in the BC zone and provides a needed service in the community, the specific location of the business as an entrance into the Nampa's downtown, the incompatibility with the Raise Grant design work in this area, and the proposed funeral home and cremation I skipped a line, economic vision, grant design work, economic vision, and the potential long-term impact of deterring businesses from locating in this area, the proposed funeral home and cremation business will be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community based on those comments. And then no changes here in number 5 criteria. But I did say in your staff report that there's a couple of options to look at here for a conclusion. The proposed use will not involve activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors, because all related emissions, fumes, and odors are regulated by 2 state agencies. Traffic generated for the crematorium is not anticipated to be significant, and the crematorium is the use that requires a conditional use permit. As opposed to the funeral home. Or the proposed use will involve those activities because all related emissions, fumes, odors are regulated by 2 state agencies. Traffic generated by the proposed use is likely to be significant. So this is different when a funeral is conducted and parking is not adequate to accommodate the need, leading to greater traffic concerns as parking is sought by attendees. Since the crematorium is a combined use with the funeral home or mortuary, the use will generate significant impacts to the traffic in the area. Again, the new information you heard tonight may influence your decision about which of these conclusions you would choose. That was new information, and so should be evaluated. And then a couple of motions that are new for you tonight, altered slightly from what is in your staff report. So the first one is to approve the conditional use permit as proposed in the staff report with the following exceptions. Facts and conclusions for 1025-4A2 as shown in the staff presentation. So that would be conclusion, sorry about that, number 4. There we go, 4A2, which would be this one here. So those changes, and then 1025-4A5, facts and conclusion number 1 instead of conclusion number 2, as corrected in the presentation for conclusion outlined in the staff report. So that would be the conclusion number 1. And then to deny the conditional use permit, you would find conclusion number 2 instead of conclusion number 1, and all the findings in the staff report, or staff presentation rather than the staff report. I know that's confusing, but it's the staff report versus the staff presentation today. That's kind of where you're finding it. And I would stand for questions.
Really, you want to ask that question?
I don't want to, but it's my job.
Rodney, the bar that was there before, was some kind of action taken by the city to close the bar, or did it just go out of business or decide to go under or whatever? What was the story on the bar itself?
Chairman Miller and Commissioner, yes, there was no action taken by the city to push them out of business. It was just that it didn't succeed.
So now they're saying that they would, well, the way I'm looking at it, it's either a bar or a crematorium, and I'd rather have seen the building stay in place and be reconditioned and put something in there that's going to be viable. We have a known entity. We don't know what's going to go in there otherwise. It's a successful business. I would think that we would want to have something like that in a location like that. I understand their point of view, but I don't agree with it.
You're tipping your cards.
Yeah, yeah.
What? Tipping your cards.
Public,
We haven't got into
it's still open.
operation
I
yet.
thought we were finished.
No.
Sorry, I must fall asleep.
Or something.
I have
Anybody have any questions?
I have a couple for
Okay.
Rodney. One, I think I know, but just to clarify, despite the historic nature of the building, since it's not in the historic district, will it have to adhere to any of the historical design review requirements?
The short, Commissioner, Chairman, and Commissioners, the short answer to that is no.
Okay, that's what I thought. That was a short answer. The second question I have is, will we be able to see any of this planning that you guys have in store? Because what I'm reading here, if I read it correctly, is we've got this plan that we want for this area, and this doesn't fit with that plan, but we haven't seen that plan.
Probably in this book.
Is it in this book?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, so let me be real clear here. That is not and being developed by our department. It is design work that's being done for that area. So it's transportation, head improvements, that kind of thing. However, the long term, I think the new comment you received from the Economic Development Department said that it would be inconsistent with the impact with long-term planning and economic development design work being completed. So I would ask that you refer to her, yeah, when she makes her comments, or if you have that question.
I think that's my concern, and I'm sure she'll address it, is if we're being told that it doesn't fit with the design we're working on, we need to have a little bit of information on what that design is. And
Rodney, do we know, or I guess, will the economic director tell us what's the extent of this plan area for the north side? Do we know that, or is that something that we can get?
Should probably tell us.
We have
boundaries.
I guess what we're hoping for is
Maybe what we
pictures.
should do is just open public testimony and let the
That's fine.
individual testify.
That's fine.
That's why you're the chair, right?
Stop beating around the bush, fellas. Okay, thank you, Rodney. Appreciate it. We will go ahead and now open public testimony. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item?
Mr. Vice Chair, I do have a gentleman signed up, Lincoln Haygood.
Okay. Mr. Haygood?
Commissioners, Lincoln Haygood, 5700 East Franklin. I am the listing agent for the property. I have the property listed for sale. This property, we listed it for the current owner in 2024, but it has been on and off the market since 2021. The current owner has tried several different business models in this and has not succeeded in those business models. And so they are looking to sell the property. They've been looking for 3.5 years to try and get the property sold. Because of the current condition of the property, it has been quite challenging. Property is listed for $795,000. I'll let the applicant speak to this later if they want to, but it's our understanding that their intent is to invest over $1 million into the property, which is a pretty significant investment of capital into that North Nampa area. We look at it as probably the first significant redevelopment of any property in the last 20 years. The last one being over on 7 9th Avenue North, which was the Crescent Brewery property. There's not a lot of historic buildings, and I don't think there's an older commercial historic building in the city of Nampa than this one. So it will require a significant amount of investment of capital to bring it back. The original limestone, I believe limestone bricks that are there, it's going to be costly. Just a couple things to point out as well. The property I think this was spoken to, but, mortuary and funeral homes are permitted in the BC zone. It's the crematory that's not. And I think that's probably a sign of where the code has been. I think the code's probably a little bit outdated. There's this perception that, crematory is just plumes of smoke, smells, and just a nuisance. And so that's probably, maybe back in the day, 30, 40 years ago when this code was enacted, that was the interpretation. That's why it was a conditional use permit. I think that based upon the representations and the industry standards have changed, it's probably a little bit different. I will say, if they're not the group that moves forward with that level of investment, I don't see somebody remodeling this building just because of the cost investment that it'll require. And the current owner is not going to do that. They are delinquent on their property taxes. It's just going to continue to sit. And I don't think that that's what the city of Nampa wants for that North Nampa, regardless of what the future plan is. I do think seeing some significant investment will be beneficial for that area and for this property. I think, probably a lot of commissioners recognize the value that this type of business brings to our community and the need. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. So I'm Robin Sellers. I'm the Economic Development Director. I think most of us have talked before. We looked at this project, and I can help to answer some of the questions that were asked just a moment ago. I'm going to bring it up. Daniel is going to share a map that will show where the RAISE grant potential projects would be located. There are 6 projects that will be part of the RAISE grant. And so they are all in North Nampa. So just a moment, we'll get there. All right, so the 6 projects are, I'm not going to go into all of the detail. We will be here for a really long time, but I can give a brief summary of what they are. There is one that is going to be looking at curbs, ramps, and sidewalks in North Nampa. We are also looking at Northside Boulevard and 4th Street intersection improvements with widening. And then we're also looking at 6th Street and 2nd Avenue North, road rehab and sidewalk path installation. And then the biggest one that with this CUP, and I put it in the letter, is we are looking at doing a overpass pedestrian bridge that would include bike, and it would be on 14th Avenue. It's an overpass active transportation bridge. So the idea is to connect North Nampa over the bridge to downtown. And then we are also looking at another project on 16th Avenue and 6th Street North intersection improvements. And then an Indian Creek pathway extension. This project would have, this project will investigate conceptual alternatives to install a 1.6 mile extension of the Indian Creek pathway. And then project 6, the 6th project, final project for this would be 1st Street North and 3rd Street North underpass improvements. So those are the 6 projects that are potential, and I don't have very much time left, but you can read in the letter, it is a critical location entering into the downtown. We've done some wayfinding studies for downtown. This would be a pretty important area that comes into downtown as you enter that area. Looking at doing some downtown revitalization. We're in the middle of a downtown implementation plan. Thus my comments that you can read in the letter. So with that, I think my time's up.
So help us understand how them doing this and improving this building would affect anything that you've got going on with all these pedestrian pathways. I don't understand it, and I think what they're trying to propose is a heck of a nice idea for that ugly red building. And I just don't understand how them converting that building and keeping it would affect anything that you've got going on, unless you need to tear that building down to make one of these projects happen.
So commissioners, it's really a long-term view of what goes there. So if they're there, it makes it hard to do that redevelopment. I don't have currently something that is ready to go in there, but it makes it hard as we look to redevelop and as these projects are implemented. The idea is to redevelop North Nampa.
Okay, but so with your plans, even if they're 10, 15 years out, your plans to make this all work, would that building have to be removed so you can make this work? Or you're just envisioning some other business being in there besides a crematorium?
Commissioners, this is an opportunity lost. Yes.
Because nobody would want to move a business next door to a crematorium.
So
the
that
elephant
is
in the
the
room?
idea, is
Okay.
that it makes it a little harder. Like if you're looking at redevelopment, that a crematorium, that's a crematory, I'm not sure what the right word, but we'll call it a crematory. It makes it harder. That's a neighbor that maybe not everyone
There's
wants
a
to
stigma,
redevelop next
an
to.
idea, something like that, that a business moving in to be like, nah, I'm not moving in next to, okay, no, I get it.
That's really, that there's higher use that could go in there. And to be flat out, I don't have something that's going there today. It's looking, and I wrote it in the letter, it's that long-term view of connecting North Nampa to downtown, getting that residential area so that there is that goes over the rail. And so that's why I wrote the letter and my comments from an economic development standpoint. I realize that you're weighing many things. And so as my job as an economic development director is to look from my point of view.
And most of these improvements that you listed here are surface, street, and sidewalk improvements, except for the pedestrian bridge. And I totally understand that'd be kind of cool to have that in there. And connect both sides of the railroad tracks. But, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you asked that question because I was thinking the same thing. What would these improvements just be in the surface, the street, the intersection, sidewalks, ramps, that kind of stuff? I was thinking more buildings, lots, whatever that might be. I know that was a thought lost in the air, but.
Other questions?
So I know you don't have anything ready to come now. Do you have people interested in North Nampa?
Do I have people? Is that,
Yeah.
Sorry, your question, sorry.
Yes.
So commissioners, I do not have someone that's interested in North Nampa, but that is the next area that we'll be looking to as downtown expands. That connection is really important, and also as we look at Amtrak looking to come through the valley, that would be,
we don't know?
that would be an area that would be really important because that's that side that they would pick up. Again, this is a long-term view. And so looking at Nampa, like that's part of what my job is to forecast and look at where we can go and think about a long-term vision. And part of this RAISE grant is to make a long-term vision of connecting the two. And then eventually get into Lakeview Park.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I could ask another, and I know this is part of the public testimony, but I think with her unique position and testimony, I think these are good questions to ask, but having a building there, bright red, potentially vacant for the next 5 years, because it seems like from previous testimony that there's not a whole lot of interest in that building, so I'm trying to weigh the return on investment here, really. I mean, we have an opportunity to have a business move into that building, revamp it, and from what we've seen, make it very nice.
Right.
Would you rather, I think I know the answer to this, but would you rather see a big red vacant building sit there for the next 5 years and attract whatever it might attract, rather than have a viable business in that building and make it look more presentable, if you will?
Commissioners.
Because that's a question I'm struggling with too, so.
Could plead the fifth.
I guess I'll just be honest. I
Yeah,
really
please.
appreciate what they're going to do for that building, the
Right.
plans for that. I, like you, am desperate to see that building be restored and look really good again and have that historical nature to it. It's part of economic development is historic preservation. Especially with Nampa being the oldest building, it's a really great. It's just the use makes it a difficult decision, and then that's where economic development, where we start to have some pain points of that long-term view and the redevelopment that will happen there eventually. It's not tomorrow, and it's not in the next 3 years. We're probably talking more like 5 to 10 to 15 years. But Nampa will redevelop. It will happen. Just like you've seen in Caldwell and other areas, it will happen. We'll get bigger. We're not getting smaller. So my job is to tell you what I can kind of look at is that in our planning, what we're looking at with this RAISE grant, where we know we need to go, there's a lot of improvements that need to happen. And then with its position next to the rail, right at that entrance of downtown, it's a really important location. So if we were talking even a block further, right, that makes it different. So I know that you're weighing a lot. I understand that, but that's my perspective from economic development.
And I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense on both sides, but certainly appreciate your testimony.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Okay, Mr. Schmier, would you like to come back up and?
Threw a lot of information at me there real quick. So there were only a couple things in all of that that I felt were even a little bit concrete. There's a lot of just kind of ethereal, it's not the right fit. And so I want to address a couple things that I felt like were really probably relevant. So the one thing that I heard Ms. Sellers say that could potentially have an impact on that immediate area is like rail, like Amtrak or something like that coming in. This building is the only building in that immediate area that I think has any relevant tie to the history of Nampa. It's the only historic building in that immediate area. There are a lot of, I would guess there's probably a lot of low-income homes right there that they'd be happy to sell to the city for development. What I'm saying is there's a lot of space there, and there's a lot of space that the railroad owns there. And it is not uncommon to have to work around a building that's special, right? And so that would be my argument for that. The second thing that she said that I think is really relevant is economic development and redevelopment. I know it's a long way to go. I don't know if any of you have been to Caldwell lately, but there's a funeral home called Flahiff's Funeral Home that is adjacent to downtown. And I don't think there's been any stopping of the forward momentum of development in that immediate area as a result of Flahiff Funeral Home and crematory. They have a crematory there as well. It has not stymied development in any way. In my opinion, what we're looking at doing goes far beyond what even Flahiff's has done, right? And so So I feel like those are the two really relevant things there, is just kind of this overarching idea that we're somehow going to stymie development in that immediate area. We've seen that it's not true in other facilities. So, and beyond that, I think to be in a very high visibility area like that, there are a lot of people in our community that think what we do is pretty special and pretty important to their families, and they appreciate the way that we've served their families. And to pass by a business that has done something meaningful for you and have a beautiful building there is not a bad thing, right? It's another thing that ties us to our past, right? The people that have come before us that we've lost, and the building will stand as to those families as a representation of that person that they love, right? It's going to be a beautiful building. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Are you going to have a sign in the front of the building or a billboard planted next to the building saying this is a crematorium or something like that? Or what is your...
Well, the name of our business is All Valley Cremation. And so, yeah, we'll have a sign. It will, our thought at this point, I mean, we've got a long way to go with the architects, but our thought at this point is that we'll probably have I don't even remember what they call it. It's a sign that's basically on the ground, a monument sign. So.
Well, that's fitting for a crematorium. That's fitting for a crematorium.
That's
so.
cute.
Okay.
Made it funny and didn't even know.
There's no requirement that you would have to identify it as a crematorium. I mean, you could just put Joe's Funeral Home or whatever you want to, All Valley Funeral Home.
That's the name of
That's the name of his business.
They could change the name of his business. I'm trying to, give you an option that would satisfy these other people, that I would much rather see your business there than I would an empty building painted red, or tear your building down and put something else there. I mean, it's history. We can't replace it.
Yeah.
Well, in 100 years we can replace it if you put something else there, but can't do it now. Why tear down a perfectly good building, and you're willing to invest a lot of money? So is there any way that you can mitigate the feelings that some of these other people have that, I don't know, I don't place any stigma. I mean, I wouldn't mind opening up a business next to yours and feel like I'd be hurting myself by doing that. I don't understand that.
Yeah. It tells people who we are, what we do. So, which is what the majority of the population prefers right now when it comes to funerals. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll kick this one off because
I already have been for 10 minutes.
Robin, I appreciate all you did, and I appreciate your outlook and your thoughts and looking down the road. It's awesome. My concern is this building, and if he doesn't go in and buy it, by the time somebody gets around to doing something with it, it's going to be gone. It's going to be torn down because even his own engineer said, scrape it and start over. I would much rather see him put the money into this thing, save it, and keep it where it is and looking the way it used to years ago, and having a business there. And I know some businesses are going to say, we're not going to move next to him. But the other side of that is, I know where he's at because I drive by his plant, his office every day, twice at least. And if he's outgrowing that and he has to move, if we can't find him a place here, he's going to take that business and move it to Caldwell or Meridian. Why would we want to lose that business and on top of that lose this old building? I cannot see it. I'm 100% in favor of him keeping it and restoring this building. I'm sorry, I get your outlook, but I'm in favor of saving this building at this point. So.
And it comes to mind, a bird in hand's worth two in the bush. We know what he's going to do. It would be great for everything, except maybe somebody doesn't want to build next door to him. But other than that, everybody would be making money on the deal and would have a good place. We have reserve history. I agree with you 100%. I'm all for it.
I agree as well. And the whole time I was thinking about this, and one of the reasons why I asked about the map was because only 2 blocks from here, we just heard a thing for a discount budget tire shop that we had to approve to have them move in there and do a tire shop. Do you remember this? Yes. I mean, that's only 2 blocks away, but they weren't here to stop that. But that was just 2 blocks. And I think once this building gets refurbished, if it does, it'll be the nicest building in how far? On that entire street, all the way to Lakeview Park. It's be the nicest building, bar none. And you have a man that's invested in this community, and he's spending money to beautify and refurbish a building that pretty much probably everybody would just knock down.
Yep.
And so I'm 100% in favor.
So if I could play just a little bit of devil's advocate here.
No.
My freedom of speech is so... no, I totally understand where the economic development side of this is. And I made a note here throughout the testimony, $1 million of investment of capital in this area. And then my thought was, well, how much down the road, what would be the return on investment, not for that particular business or building, but for the area? Because that building is there. I totally understand people have issues and stigmas and all that. But then I appreciate, and I do like forward thinking and down the road and planning and all that. But then when the applicant came back up and mentioned Flahiff Funeral Home over in Caldwell, because that was my question I was going to ask, is have we looked at other communities that might have this same type of situation? And then the applicant brought that up. And no one can deny that funeral home and crematorium over in Caldwell has affected any of the development around that area. So I am leaning in favor of this project going forward because I would rather something be in that building, make it look nice, and I think just having that nice, refurbished, active building will bring, no matter what business is in there, will bring more development to that area.
You're always looking for a catalyst.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and it might be just that. We would say, hey, there's some changes going on here. And the whole environmental thing and all that, I have no worries whatsoever about that. But I just think that would help spur probably quicker some development and maybe right alongside with what the city is planning in that area too. But yeah, I'd rather see, I don't want it to become a empty shell of a building to attract what we don't want to be there. And have somebody go in there, activate it, get it going. If it's a viable business. So
what about this thought? He develops, then there's redevelopment. So 10, 15 years down the road, he's now bigger than what this building will allow him to be, so he decides he wants to move somewhere else and make a similar investment. This building's already been fixed up. Now he sells it to a new user. Those things happen all the time, all the time.
Well, yeah, and just with the growth, it's obviously that his business is growing, and 10 years.
They're dying to get in, aren't they?
Yeah, they are just dying to get in. No, I can't believe you said that.
I can't
believe I repeated it. But there is that, that's what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know down the road, and it's hard to plan that because you don't know what the.
And if Amtrak did come through eventually, and he was growing and it's 10, 15 years down the road, they could turn that into the train depot on that side of the road, and he could move into the building. I just don't want to see that building go, and I think if he's going to spend the money to keep that thing around, even if he moves out in 20 years, somebody else will be able to move into that building, and that building will still be there for another 100 years. If we don't do something with it soon, just like his engineer said, tear it down, and that's what's going to happen, and then we're going to have some modern, ugly-looking building there instead of this beautiful old brick building that can be brought back to life. So I'm not going to see that building go.
Well, in my lifetime, thinking about downtown Nampa, how much has downtown Nampa changed? I would say fairly significantly. As a little kid, I remember a few things down there, and then through my teenage years, there was really nothing downtown Nampa that drew me. at all.
The pics.
And now it's starting to develop again and become something, and I really like to see positive change, and refurbishing old buildings like this is, in my opinion, a great thing. Long-term use, like I said, 10, 15 years down the road, he might not be there. It might not be that use. It might be something completely different. So you have to look at those things too, and I agree with Commissioner Kehoe. In the hand, in the basket, you know, I mean, we know. And like we've heard testimony say, how many times has this building been up for sale? There's not really anybody interested. Not until development starts to happen, and this could be potentially the start of development on that side of Nampa. I mean, you never know, right? This individual spends this much money in this building, which causes across the street or next door, or, hey, if this guy's willing to spend this kind of money, maybe we should look at something in there too, because he's willing to do it, so why shouldn't we? So that's my thoughts.
There was one question I was going to ask, and it's too late now unless you open public meeting again, but if this is approved, would that change the course of city planning for this economic development in that area?
I would highly doubt.
I don't think so either.
No, because it sounds like one of the biggest drivers is the rail, right?
So no matter what-
That's why this building, so the rail situation is probably what drives it, and so this location will probably stay a big part of that development.
So no matter what moves in there, the plan is still going to move forward.
I would assume.
Because
That would be my guess.
I believe I asked her if this building staying would have any effect on any of those plans, and I believe she said no. So I think the biggest concern was the business going in there, the type of business
Yeah.
would be a
Just what that-
deterrent. I honestly don't see it. I think I'm like with most everybody, that if he spends this money and refurbishes this building and makes it beautiful like it looks in the rendering, that's going to help get things going. If we leave that red building standing there for the next 5, 10 years, nothing's going to move in next to it.
It's just going to fall
You know,
down.
I'd rather move into one where they're cutting bodies up than next to that building, you know?
Apologies.
Morgue, you know, instead of, but nothing's going to move in next to that red building, and nothing is moving into it that's doing anything to improve the area or to do taxes, and I hate to see the business leave Napa. He's been here for a number of years, he's doing good, and he wants to stay here, so.
I think that's one of the most unfortunate parts of this discussion, is that you have this individual that wants to spend this money to refurbish this historic building, and there are so many other problem areas on that street, right? But this is the one that's being the target, the one that wants to invest and keep his business in Nampa and continue to pay taxes and serve the community. I think it's a no-brainer, really.
Well, I don't know that I would go so far as calling it a target. I don't think the city is targeting this.
I mean-
I think in the big scheme of the plan, this is an issue. This is a concern. I get it. But I also know that with a grant, typically those grants are dedicated to, you know, if you're going to say you're going to spend this grant money on this, then that's what you have to spend your grant money on. So probably answered my own question. But I get what you're saying, Commissioner Gardner, is that, yeah, I mean, this looks like, well, it's a big red building. Who's not going to notice it? There's your target right there. Yeah, it's a big red building. All right.
I think the thing that swayed me is the fact that if this was a mortuary, we wouldn't even be here. It would be an entitled use, you know. Let me reorganize my thought. We're waiting for someone to come in and redo this, and maybe it'd be better if it was a restaurant or something that would.
It was a restaurant.
It was.
It wasn't a restaurant that attracted me.
I was attracted.
But, you know, but you know what I mean, like something that people are going to come downtown and hang out in, you know, but you need a mix of businesses. You know, and it's being zoned BC, somebody could refurbish that and make it another smoke shop, right? And not even come to us, I think.
Or another bar or whatever.
Or yeah, you know what I mean, well, and I don't know, I'm not adding anything that you guys have already said. I think, I get both sides of the argument, but, if we're going to preserve the building, we might as well preserve the building and give these guys an opportunity to do that. And
Exactly.
yeah. I don't have anything else to add.
Anything else?
I'm all for it.
Vice Chair Miller, where there's been a robust discussion here, it might be a helpful reminder to try to tie it all together. Where this is a CUP, there are those guidelines set forth in the staff report that do guide this decision. If it's supported by the comprehensive plan, adversely impacting the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity, will the proposed use be served adequately by essential public facilities and services? The proposed use will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. Quite a lot of discussion there. And to wrap it up, that it will not be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by excessive traffic noise, smoke, fumes, glare, and odors. So as this discussion continues or wraps up, just keep those criteria in mind as we put it all together.
Thank you.
Well, and I know, on that note, I know that that was and Rodney did a great job, his staff did a great job presenting the facts. And he was very clear about that when he started, so we totally get it.
Yeah.
But on that note, though, with the economic number 4 or 5, whatever it was, the economic welfare of the area, I think for me personally, a decision would be made on the current economic welfare of that area. And that might mean a year or two in advance, not 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And on that note, that would be getting a business in there, or approving somebody to spend $1 million in there and perhaps spur additional economic development.
I would even say as far as 10, 15 years down the road, a newly refurbished building within the next year or two
would spur
is going to be a lot better in 15 years than a building that sits as current in 15 years.
So to all those points, is it as written here? Do we need to revise this at all?
No.
I think we just have to use the options that Rodney laid out.
As proposed in the staff.
Okay.
And then presentation, just like he's got it written right there.
A.2, was that the economic stuff?
No.
It was that.
Well, not.
This is
Design review committee.
the changes to A2, and it was just simply correcting it and adding that last fact.
Design review.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Because you added stuff in there about the economic impact, but that would only
was number
apply if we did.
It does not.
What's the slide with the conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 on it, Rodney?
That was just a.
That there, right?
Right there. Will not involve
I think conclusion 1 is what you're looking for.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there was another one.
But I think
It
it
was the one
references
previous.
this slide in the,
in the motion.
In the-
Yeah.
But this kind of became irrelevant based on his testimony about the traffic, but then another one, the whole economic thing was also added in the presentation.
Yeah, it
So
was
I-
like a number 5 or a
It
number.
was number 4.
or something
4.
like that.
Yeah, 4.
There you go.
Okay, can you go back to the motion? Not that I'm going to read it.
Yes, you are.
You're at it, you might as well.
And all other proposed findings in the staff presentation, so that number 4 would have been rolled up in that if we did
Yeah.
denial.
Correct.
you want to do it, Drew?
Not really.
I'll do it. I move to approve the conditional use permit for a crematory and funeral home in a BC zoning district at 102 and 106 11th Avenue North, a total of 0.48 acres for James Shermer, sorry about that, representing All Valley Cremation, with the proposed conditions and adopt the findings as proposed in the staff report with the following exceptions. Facts and conclusions for 10-25-4.A.2 as shown in the staff presentation, and 10-25-4.A.5 facts and conclusions 1 instead of conclusion 2 as corrected in the presentation for conclusion outlined in the staff report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this conditional use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision and reason statement is provided to the applicant unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with the Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals.
Vice Chair, I move we adjourn.
Sorry. It's been moved and seconded and maybe thirded. Do we conclude the meeting? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. I did all right. Only a couple follies.
Okay.